See any good movies lately?
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
Well, read any good books?
No.
Anything new with corn?
Oh yeah, corn.
Corn.
Oh yeah, corn. You bet.
Corn.
Yeah.
Corn is on.
Come a running, boys, don't you hear the noise? Like the thunder in the sky. How it rolls along in a good song from the sons of Nebraska. Now it's coming near with a rising cheer that'll sweep all foes away. So ripple up in, we're bound to win, and we're going to win today. In the days of old, Johnny Penderbone would just take that ball in hand, and with Benedict right in front of him, they would set sail for the land. Then Doc Eager too, with a chosen few, would be all around everywhere. And before they quit, they would calmly sit down behind that goalpost there. For Nebraska and the Scarlet, for Nebraska and the Green, though they go through many battles, our colors still are singing. So in contest and in victory, we will wave them for the team. And we'll all
See you guys. All right, we'll see ya. Be in touch.
Constantly.
All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
I'm Jimmy.
We are Two Average Guys.
Let's go.
Welcome back. No Husker, well, I guess there is Husker football to talk about. But before we do that, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Backswing Brewing. We are at Backswing today, and we are live. So
Yeah, TJ just
thank
left.
you. TJ just left. But thank you to them for the entire year. Again, this is our 10th year, second year with Backswing. It's been a pleasure and really enjoying it. So cheers to them.
Yeah, it's fun coming up here every week. Not very many people here, so
No,
I don't know. Maybe next year.
it's happening place, man. There's lots of
Come
football
on
on
up.
TV, lots of good beer.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Nebraska football first because we've had not a lot, but also a lot happening with Nebraska football. We see a lot of poor
Been a
old guys,
lot.
a lot of coaching changes too. So, let's talk about coaching changes first. Casey, what's up, brother? Talk about coaching changes first. So, wide receivers coach gone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Defense coordinator, yeah, he's more than fired. But then we get Evan Cooper gone. We get
Terrence Knighton.
Knighton gone,
Tony
and our entire defensive staff is essentially gone. And then what we started to see from there was kind of a mass exodus of
Right.
defensive guys.
Yeah, unfortunate. But it seemed to like, or would have liked to have had a lot of those players back.
Yeah.
But it also gives us an opportunity to maybe go in a different direction.
Yeah.
You know, last year, we've talked about it over the last few weeks, but, you know, early on in the season, we thought Tony White might be leaving to go for a head coaching job. But,
Yeah.
you know, last year, Nebraska's defense was really, really, really good.
Yep.
Is a 3-3-5 coming into a league that doesn't play that style. And so it was hard for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
But then teams had a whole season and a half to adjust to that and learn how to beat it.
And I actually don't even think that a little bit of that, yes, but what I think the problem is we didn't run enough schemes to actually throw off the offenses. We kind of, especially this year, we ran three guys up front,
Right.
almost exclusively all
Right.
year. We didn't do a lot of good blitz combinations. So again, we're losing defense left and right. And so, what's up, Donnie? You know, to me, a surprise was Jamari Butler. You're a starter. You're a black shirt, and you're gone. Like,
Yeah, I know.
I don't get that. That was a big surprise to me.
The biggest thing I think these days is if you're a good player or, you know, a really solid player on a middle of the road type of team or not a good team, you have opportunities. Especially with rosters getting cut down the way that they are.
Yeah.
You know, guys are gonna look for as much money as they can get.
Yeah,
And unfortunate. It's unfortunate that that's the way it is.
Yeah, and that's you know, I think that's a big piece of it too. Is, you know, I feel like my value's up. I had a good year. Our team overall maybe wasn't great, but I had a great year, and I feel like I can go make more money.
Right, and people could come calling,
Or they're already calling.
they're already calling.
And, you know, again, you can talk about tampering all you want. We know it's happening. It's definitely tampering. It's going on. These kids aren't hitting the portal, getting the phone calls. A lot of these guys, especially starters, if they're leaving, there's calls being made well ahead of time. They're getting text messages from other teams, whether it's the coaches or not.
They could be players from those teams
yeah.
that they, went on recruiting.
But
visits
you
with.
know, there's money involved with those conversations too. And again, whether it's happened with guys like Butler, guys like Emmett Johnson, which we'll talk about in a second.
I didn't want to get there, so.
And then now we just hear about Boodle leaving as well. A little surprised about Boodle. Again,
He just, he didn't get to see the field much.
but I feel like he would this next year.
Agreed. That's what the toughest thing about guys leaving in the portal is. It's like, you guys, you waited your turn. Now it's your turn.
Yep.
And that could be a situation that coaches are saying, hey, we got to trim the team down by 40 players.
Yeah.
You might want to look elsewhere. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case for him.
Yeah.
But in a lot of the scenarios, at least at this point,
Yeah.
that's probably what's going to be happening.
Well, and the bummer about someone like him and other guys that we lost one of our I think wide receivers. And I'm like, I don't even know who that was. Ball or something like that.
Hall,
yeah.
he's a local kid.
I'm like, I don't even know who that is. But it's like you don't have.
It's a Bellevue West kid. He came in with Caleb.
Okay, but you don't have film to show other teams other than high school. Like,
Right.
where is your value if you haven't
It's actually
seen
a
the
good
field
point.
yet?
That's really a good point.
And so, like Casey here says, a lot of these guys are going to end up at the FCS level. They're not going to have a choice to play if they go to another D1 school. Are they going to start? They're going to have to probably beat someone else out.
Right.
Are they all going to go to Florida State? Are this like loyalty to a coach? Because Florida State's defense was awful, but we've talked about it before. Like that loyalty to your coach shouldn't really exist, and because the coaches aren't going to be loyal to you as a player. They're going to go where the money goes or where their best opportunity is. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's something that again, as if I'm thinking about my job, if I have an opportunity elsewhere, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
Kids are going to be the same way now, and whether they're following their coach or not to Florida State, and if that happens, I don't know. But I find it just interesting. Again, some of these guys that are getting playing time that are like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, it's tough to even see like Chuba entered again, for another team. Sevion Morrison is leaving Kansas.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, you just
Forgot about him.
It's like once they do it, it's like you're always looking for another greener pasture, right?
But if you're looking for playing time, you maybe can't look at that D1 level. Maybe go down to your FCS level or Mountain West or
you're gonna have
SWAC.
you're gonna have to go. You're not gonna be in a Power 5, Power 4
It's gonna be
conference,
tough.
I guess, unless you are, a starting defensive lineman, starting running back. Those guys might have an opportunity.
Yeah, and let's talk about Emmett Johnson. So one,
transition to that.
I did hear that there's a good possibility he does stay. That Holgerson's working with him. Here's the problem with Emmett Johnson. Not his problem. Marcus Satterfield was the biggest problem for Emmett Johnson. Because Marcus Satterfield said Dowdle is our best running back. That was false. And we talked at the very beginning of the year. We said, I love seeing Emmett Johnson and Ramir Johnson as the top two on the chart. Even though it wasn't really the depth chart, they were just listed that way.
And because Dowdell didn't have a very good spring.
Yeah. And guess what? He fumbles in the first game.
Right.
We see these mistakes happen. And not that Dowdle's about a bad running back. He's not what Nebraska needed to win games and give us actually
He scored like 12. He scored 12 touchdowns.
consistent running.
He was fine. He's a goal line type of back.
Yep. And so we have now Emmett Johnson, who's definitely our best back, definitely a big threat in the backfield. He's like, I only got some playing time the last 2-3 games, and I'm clearly your best guy. I'm out.
I could have been doing this all year, and now I made kind of a name for myself. Which I haven't really had an opportunity to do, and now bigger teams might come calling.
Yeah. Yep.
It sucks to say bigger teams might come calling, but that's what I mean. A team that's in this playoff that's going to be losing a running back could come calling.
Yeah, and
Maybe already has.
Yeah, and I think again that's why I mentioned on Carricker's post is with Emmett Johnson, I understand playing time. Satterfield screwed you over there. I do think you were our best back. I do think Holgerson realized that. It was like, we need to get you in the game more, and we saw that. Heck, he was slicing and dicing through Iowa's defense, and he had a
On
great
the ground and through
the
the air.
last couple of games of the year for sure. He was fantastic, and I'm like, yeah, his junior year is going to come in and absolutely dominate and be our number one back. And so I think we screwed him over, and so I don't blame him for hitting the portal if that does happen. But I also see him as number one next year.
If he does come back.
But my question to Carricker was, is this a quote-unquote tampering to where someone's already called Emmett? It's like, hey, we want you to come play for us, hit the portal. And that's another problem with the portal, is it when it opens, it's before bowl games.
Which is stupid.
It's before the playoff. So any
Stupid.
kid that might want to go, now you're saying, I can't play in my bowl game. I leave my team early and say I'm hitting the portal if I want to.
Yeah,
But
I don't know who comes up with these.
Yeah. Because,
Timelines,
Because
but
you can
it's
pull yourself out of the
freaking
portal. We know that. But it's
At
like,
any time.
Yeah, but like your timeline is so small to hit the portal, and once you do it, if you get locked in, you're done. You can't bring yourself back. Like there's a time frame
Right.
of that, I believe, but it's like
Yeah.
you're.
It's
Yeah.
just stupid because, I mean, not that we wouldn't play a lot of different players in a bowl game. Obviously, you want to win the game, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. The biggest thing is, like we said, a month of practices,
Yep.
being around each other, that type of stuff. But also that you can play players without hurting their red shirt or
Yeah.
whatever. You can. So a lot of players are going to play anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But when guys can leave before the bowl game, then it's just like, like half our defense is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Ty said he wants to play. I don't know if he will. He doesn't really necessarily need to, and he could risk getting hurt.
You risk getting
but
hurt 11 out of the
He
12 other
also
games.
has been here for 6 years and hasn't played in a bowl game. So
Yeah.
why? I would too. I'd
Yeah.
want to play.
You
And it's
know-
one more chance for scouts to see him and stuff like that. I know he got an invite to the Senior Bowl, but other than that, I mean, you got a bunch of guys gone. Like we're going to be piecing a team together.
Yeah, and that's going to happen. It's going to get worse and worse over the years because, again, if you're going to hit the portal, you got to hit it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, you can't find another school.
You might miss an
And you're stuck in the
opportunity.
portal like all these other guys, or going down to the FCS level when maybe you're good enough for another D1 team, but you're not going to get that chance because of the portal. And so, it's a problem. But I would love to see Emmett back. I agree, Casey. I do think him and Dowdle are a good 1-2 punch. I don't think Dowdle's bad. I think Emmett is our number one back, and Dowdle is a good complementary back. He's
Third down.
Yeah, third down is going to be
goal
your
line, third and fourth down back.
pass protection back. He's going to be your guy that gets you 2, 3, 4 yards.
And
So
could
there's
bust one if he needs to.
Absolutely.
Or there's that opportunity, like Amani Cross. You remember?
Yeah.
He was kind of
Amani Cross.
that way, and then he'd bust out a nice long run. Those were always fun to
Yep.
watch.
Oh, Darren, thank you. Sounds like Georgia Tech, Nebraska, Pinstripe Bowl. There you go,
Georgia Tech,
Caroline.
huh?
So we got G-Tech. G-Tech beat Miami this year. So got Pinstripe Bowl. And we kind of assumed Pinstripe
I
Bowl.
figured it was going to be Pinstripe, but I was seeing Boston College, and I said I'm okay with that because it's on a Saturday. I don't want to miss the game.
Yeah. So we'll have Georgia Tech and Nebraska in the Pinstripe Bowl. So kind of interesting. So here's the thing about Nebraska fans. They will be there. They will have as many Nebraska fans in Yankee Stadium as possible, no matter how cold it is. Fans are going to go. Look how many Nebraska fans were at Iowa, and that game was freezing.
Yeah.
Now there might be snow in New York at that time, but
Right, and it might be a little bit more expensive than some of the other destinations.
yeah, I'm a little surprised. I thought maybe the committee would look at. Thank you, Darren. By the way, I was thinking the committee might look at like Florida or Nashville or Arizona and say, yeah, Nebraska's 6-6. We're going to treat them as a 7-5 team and send them to a bowl game where it's a little bit warmer, because if it's warmer, Nebraska fans are definitely going to show up, and they're going to help sell out that stadium wherever we play. So,
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying
yeah.
that anywhere necessarily. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just the one I saw said sounds like Boston College in Nebraska, but
and
either way.
And again, I think a lot of people were thinking Boston College just based on location wise. If you're going to have Nebraska travel to New York, you're going to have a team that's close to the area, so to get more fans from them as well.
Right.
Which again, that makes sense as well. But again, Georgia Tech.
I mean, I don't know. I think Georgia Tech could be a decent matchup. I mean, they beat Miami this year. That'd be decent. I mean,
Yeah.
probably be better than Boston College.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we'll have to see what happens there. I'm excited to see what we do in our bowl game. I think it's a good opportunity for us to hopefully
Just take momentum into
Yeah.
the offseason.
100%.
Really, something that we haven't had in a while. I mean, other than beating Iowa the last game, but still not making it to a bowl game.
Yep.
So
Yeah, no, good point, Casey, on Holgerson. And I think this happens at a lot of schools that coaches get locked in on one player, and they're like, "You're my guy."
yeah,
I mean, we've seen it happen with Nebraska too, and where they're afraid to make a change.
last year Sims.
Yep, afraid to take Sims out. It's like, no, we got to take him out. If that's the case, we also saw 87. We saw, we talked about Fedoni last week and how we started to see Borkshire in the game more. I mean, that made sense. And so we can't get locked in on one guy. We have to do what's best for the team. And hopefully, as Holgerson brings in, he's already saying, I know this and I see this. He's going to bring in coaches, and he can be able to say,
wide receiver coach.
Yeah, from Kentucky, who they had some good wide receivers too. So I'm excited to see what he does in Nebraska.
Portal too.
Yep. So we might be getting one of their wide receivers, which would be really good for us. And what I love too is a lot of people speculated Dylan's going to hit the portal. I'm like, there's no way. Not especially with Danny hitting. Now we got
TJ Lateef.
Yeah, TJ Lateef coming in. And we have Harburg saying, I'll do whatever I got to do to win games.
I mean, if I was reading some things, it was like, if I was Harburg, I'd be working this offseason on long snapping, I don't know, all kinds, maybe on defense even, just to see the field as much as possible.
Yeah.
And because I think he's a freak of an athlete that can play at the next level, and that's why I say long snapper. He can play in the NFL as a long snapper for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Make decent money, and maybe even be on special teams or other opportunities on special teams. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Plays in Nebraska. Oh, they're also here in the Game Above Sports Bowl. So yeah, it's apparently still not official. At least not announced anywhere that I can see. But we'll see. I assume it's going to be Pinstripe Bowl. I kind of already had that in my mind. But either way, we'll be patient on that and see.
I don't know why they don't just do it like pretty quick after they announce.
They already have to have them figured out. I thought that's what it was. They're going to do this, then they're going to start announcing all the bowl games. But we did have to bring up Sims. Sorry, Casey. I know it's not fun to think about that last year. So I'm interested to see what Holgerson does with the offense. I think, again, bringing in a new wide receivers coach, that's something that we heard from Cameron Williams. He said you have some position coaches that probably are in the wrong spot. It's absolutely, when you have a kid, how old is our wide receivers coach? He's younger than us.
He was like 24.
Yeah. And not that you can't be young and be a great coach, but that kid's like fresh out of college, and it's like, you might know a lot about football. We know a lot about football. I'm not going to put myself up for a wide receiver coach. It's just not. So I feel
and I think this Kentucky wide receiver coach is pretty young too. I think he's around like 30 or something.
He's younger, but so is Freeman at Notre Dame, and he's done a hell of a job getting that program in shape at Notre Dame. So. It's going to be interesting to see what happens as we continue to see the offseason moves, continue to see guys either hitting the portal or talking about it, and then, what can Holgerson do? Not just Holgerson, what is Raiola and the rest of the guys on the team doing to keep these guys there and convince them, it's only just the beginning. We're going to get better, and we see this coming in next year.
We brought in a couple good wide receivers. We had another top 20 recruiting class.
Yep.
Or I guess depending on.
I think around 18 is what I saw.
18
some places,
to 22, depending on what site. With a big flip right at the end. At the last minute.
Yep.
Cortez Mills from Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Or he had committed to Oklahoma.
We had a couple flips that.
Yeah, and
Dawson Merritt. That was a big flip.
That was a big one too. We consistently recruit well. You just can't win it. You just can't win on the field.
Not necessarily continue to recruit well. Thank you, boosters in 1890 and all this money that's coming in to get these kids to come to school now. Because let's be real, it is a free agent market now. It is something where it's about money. If you're going to be the top bidder, you're going to get guys to come to you. And so, again, if for Nebraska football, that's what we got to do to win. Otherwise, we're not going to be competitive. We're not going to be winning games, and we're always going to be behind the 8 ball. We're going to be looking at 6-6, if not worse, every single year if we don't do those things. And we did that. We did that recruiting. I do love what Christian Jones said. He was interviewing with, 93.7, I needed a ticket. He was interviewing with them, and they asked him about never really wavering his choice to come to Nebraska after the announcement of
Tony
Tony
White
White leaving. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but he said, he goes, that's just kind of the way college football is now. Like, coaches are going to leave for opportunities. He's like, I'm happy for him. I hope he does well. He goes, but I'm not coming to play for him. I'm coming to play for Nebraska.
Right.
He's like, I want to play for Nebraska, and that next coach, I'm going to play for him. And no matter who's in that room, and no matter who's coaching, like, that's my guy. That's who that's what I'm playing for, and playing for the guys around me. And so, like, his answer is a very mature answer because, again, that's exactly what college football is now. A coach is going to leave when they get a chance to leave.
So,
Right?
yeah, 100%.
And for him, it's, again, for Tony White, we saw this coming, but it's weird that's a lateral move, but potentially you see an opportunity for him to get a head coaching job if he can turn around that FSU defense, which was garbage. So that's a big test for him
Right.
to show what he can do with a garbage defense. Nebraska had a decent defense already. He made them really good and even better, and so he's already shown some of that. But if they're not already coming after him for head coaching jobs, he's like, all right, I got to have another job to get a little bit better and continue to boost my resume. That's what he's doing, and good for him.
Yeah.
So,
It's fine. I'm not, at first I was kind of irritated by it
yeah.
and just moved on from it at this point. Like, it just is, it's going to be happening left and
Yeah.
right, all over the place.
And it's Casey mentions here
it's just
too,
an
like,
opportunity for something better.
yeah. And Casey mentions, we continue to have like these top 25 classes for recruiting, but it doesn't start showing on the field, and that's directly correlated with coaching. Yeah, coaching, development, improvement, and yeah, I think we got some good guys coming in that are hopefully going to play early, like your Ja'Cory Barneys. Again, Ja'Cory Barney, Carter Nelson on the field next year together. If we can keep Emmett Johnson,
Right.
man, that's a huge boost to that offense with Dylan Raiola. We're getting wide receivers, we're getting the defense, we're getting guys on the team.
And we got a good running back
Yep.
in this class too.
Yep.
Don't forget that. But also, I am curious to see and excited to see, well, for one, just an off season with Holgerson, not just throwing him in the last 3 games.
We did, and again, we didn't mention we did sign him to a 2-year deal,
Yes.
so good deal.
But also, who he tries to go and get from the portal. And just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this team's going to, and it might be this way every year from now on, but the team's going to look a lot different.
Yep.
I mean, you talk about like 1 year with Casey Thompson and, what's his name from the Bucks that we got from Trey Palmer.
Yep.
I mean, that was a complete
Toure.
different look from
Yeah,
the year
we
before.
had Toure as
and
well.
then next year was something completely different, and then this year was completely different. So
He's
it's going to be that way again.
And the rules say he's looking for about 15 guys in the portal, and he wants to kind of do like 7 and 8, split them up, try to do it even across offense and defense. And man, Matt Rule, you've talked about winning in the trenches. That's how you're going to win in the Big Ten. Please make 5 to 10, 10 of those guys total, 5 on each side of the ball.
side,
Defensive
up front.
lineman, offensive lineman that can plug and play right
100%.
away, because man, we need those spots are bare. And I don't know who's the backups from what we had, but we got to have some guys that can come in and make a difference, because otherwise,
Riley Van Poppel's about all I can think
because
of.
after next year, Dylan Raiola will leave if he doesn't have the protection up front to make him a good quarterback. And so we got to have those guys up front. And our defensive line can only be so good as well. So we have to get those guys to help develop the defensive line, bring them in, plug and play, ready to go. And so I'm excited to see what we do. Again, it's always exciting. Not exciting that the season's done, even though we do have a bowl game. But it's exciting to see what's going to happen over the next few weeks with all these practices. If they play on the 26th, that's my birthday, so I'd be really happy if they play on December 26th.
I think
Maybe
Phoenix
someone
Red
could buy me a bowl game ticket for my birthday. Just throwing it out there, Two Average Guys fans. If you want to throw some dough my way, I'll set up GoFundMe. You don't have to do anything except for pay. But no, I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't mind watching football on my birthday. I'm always off work too, so also really nice. Yeah, turn around and leave after they develop, guys. So, we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see what we do and what happens here in the upcoming bowl game, and really hope that these practices absolutely make a difference for this team. You get guys like the early signees in these practices.
Can those guys play in the bowl?
I don't think they can play. I think they can practice, because I don't know for sure. I don't know if
that
they're
you'd really want
I don't
them
think they're
to.
officially enrolled in school yet.
Right.
And I think that's why they can't
They
play.
wouldn't be up to speed enough.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I don't know. Someone can fact check
Maybe
that.
cool if they did.
I haven't had to look that up in 8 years, so I don't know, Jimmy.
I know, that's what I said.
It's been so
when
long.
I turned the show on this morning, I was like, they announced the playoff, and then I'm like, okay, so do they do the bowl games now?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
because it's been so long.
I haven't watched.
I'm seeing Nebraska versus Boston College. It's not necessarily
Nice.
official yet,
but still pinstripe.
yeah.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Sweet. I think that would make more sense because, again, it's closer to New York. It's something where you're going to get fans for Boston College showing up just as much as you're going to get Nebraska fans. And those Boston College fans are going to show up too. I don't mind that matchup at all. Maybe
We'll
it'll be
see.
fun.
Nothing yet.
But, it's funny. We posted that video of the Stone Cold Steve Austin last week.
Yeah, I have to apologize for my actions during that because it was pretty piss poor. Chris called me out, rightfully so. I'm just not the same I used to be, Matt.
Pooty also
Yeah.
called you out. He's like, "Why is Jimmy like bent
Yeah.
over?" I'm like, he didn't
Yeah.
know I was going full on Stone Cold.
I didn't. For one, I didn't really want to get all wet and have to change.
It was really cold.
It was. But yeah, it was pretty weak on my end.
But Stone Cold did
Matt
respond.
was perfect.
Stone Cold did respond on
Yeah,
TikTok.
that's pretty
he
amazing.
loved it. But one guy's like, "That's pretty sad. You're celebrating 6-6." And I'm like, and I replied. I said, "You know what? I'm like, Nebraska hasn't been to a bowl in 8 years. I'm going to celebrate because." As a Husker
Who
fan,
cares?
the fact that we are made it there after 8 years and second year in our 10 years of doing this, it's exciting that we have the opportunity to get that extra practice. So I don't
It's
care.
only going to make us better.
Yeah, and we're gonna continue to practice your Stone Cold. We'll do it again next year, hopefully when
we make the playoff.
Like today, 60 degrees.
I know.
Today would have been a perfect day to do it.
I know.
But either way, I appreciate you, owning up to your
Oh, for
mistake.
sure.
Pooty called you out too. He
I
was
don't
like,
care.
"Oh my god."
He wouldn't have done it either.
He wouldn't have. Anyway, so that was fun. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Casey, I know you got to see it. So, but it was fun. Now let's talk about college football playoff because some crazy stuff going on here. Alabama fans screaming foul. So what's funny about Alabama is you didn't deserve it.
No, and you know what? It was karma from last year because they shouldn't have gotten in last year. It should have been Florida State. It is what it is. If you don't make the top 12, I'm sorry.
Well-
you didn't play this week. That was the biggest thing.
Yes.
They said if you didn't play, teams weren't going to necessarily be punished for playing in a conference championship game and losing,
Yeah.
especially on a 56-yard field goal as time expired.
And they didn't expect SMU to lose. And we talked about this before the show. If SMU had won, Alabama's in.
Right. It just had to
SMU
be-
wins, Alabama's in, Arizona State jumps in, and that's how it flares out there. But instead, Clemson wins by 3, SMU stays in, Clemson jumps in, and Arizona State throttled Iowa State, and they jump in. That was a well-deserved reward for the ACC, deserved reward for the Big 12. Arizona State lost 2 games early on in the season, and they went on an absolute tear in the Big 12. They
That
were
running back's a beast.
Scattaboo.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Like, how do these guys with these last names have such how are they so good? Scattaboo. Like, it sounds like he's running across the field.
I know, right?
Like Scattaboo. It's awesome.
Just bumbling through this big old guy.
Mumbling.
Yeah.
But like, he's not that big of a guy, which is great. I love watching him run. And man, he's got that attitude too. I absolutely love the guy.
Did the Heisman pose.
But
everything.
100% the committee got it right. 100%.
Yeah.
You have, and here's where I find it hilarious. In case you were probably watching the show as well this morning, you got guys like Booger McFarland, you got Joey Gallo, you got Greg McElroy, Kirk Herbstreit, Nick Saban, Reese Davis. They're talking about strength of schedule. And I will say it again. Strength of schedule is subjective, made by ESPN, who is in bed with the SEC money. So they're going to say at some point strength of schedule has to matter. But just in SEC, so you're in Bam. Oh, man. Saban said.
Saban was pretty pissed, you could tell.
Saban said that he did say that in this case he thinks the committee did what they thought was right, and he doesn't disagree, which I was kind of surprised. But he had a caveat. He said, unless you are, and I think McElroy might have said this too, one of them, which of course he played for Saban.
I know, but he actually isn't always an SEC.
He was today, though. I don't know if you heard him talking.
I didn't hear all of it.
But they were talking about if you don't know what the SEC schedule and how hard it is unless you play in the SEC and are in it every week. And he said if you go to Tennessee, Saban said this, if you go to Tennessee Then you go to Vandy. That's hard. And I said, when Vandy's playing well, I said, wait, aren't you the same coach that said that's an easy win?
That's the only place that's easy to go to.
In the SEC.
In the SEC.
Yet now, because they beat Bama, that's all of a sudden a hard place to play when they're playing good.
You know what I thought was funny too was when they were talking to Sarkisian, and then they were talking to Ryan Day, and
I missed some of that.
They were talking
yeah.
to. I didn't hear any of it. I had it on my other TV. Once they announced them, I flipped it over, and they were showing key wins, and they showed a key win for Tennessee. 2 key wins was OU and Vandy. Both those teams were 6-6. So okay, so then when you show Ohio State, is Nebraska on there? Because we were 6-6.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But the only reason they did that is because both those teams beat Alabama. And I will say they were right when they said this morning. Kirk Herbstreit said this. Bama got left out because they lost 24-3 to Oklahoma. That's 100% why they got left out.
100%.
I mean, 3 losses.
27-3, was it 24?
24-3.
Yeah, they got whooped. They got their ass whooped.
I just figured they'd put them in because they beat Georgia. That's what I said last night.
Yeah,
I said they're going to get in because they beat Georgia.
But it's also funny. You're going to say, here are your key wins. But when you have 3 losses, let's talk about your 3 losses, because that's not good. So you're going to focus on the wins, but at some point you have to focus on the losses on your schedule too. That's a bad loss to Oklahoma. It was a bad loss to Vandy. And maybe it's a little bit different if you lose to those teams in week 3, 4, 5. But when you lose to them in your second to last game of the year after scheduling Mercer as a tune-up game, which again, I think that hurt them. That should hurt any team. That's not competitive. As a competitive guy, I'm like, why the hell are we playing Mercer before playing another SEC opponent? That's stupid.
Well, and they say to one of the guys
you.
on there, he was saying, before the show, he's like, so and so beat this team, this team, this team, and this team, and all those teams were ranked when they beat them. And then whoever else was like, yeah, but none of those teams are ranked now.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter that they beat them. Like Vanderbilt got ranked after they beat Alabama, but
and then they
was
lost.
just a joke,
yeah.
like that overall joke.
Yeah, and so again, like people say, "Oh, we had this ranked win." Well, unless they're ranked at the end of the season, it's not a ranked win. It no longer.
We
counts.
had a ranked win.
I don't know which one you want.
I might take.
Yeah, like that doesn't matter then, right? Like, so let's talk about again that strength of schedule is just a load of crap because it doesn't compute. It just the math ain't mathing because again you're telling me
nothing's ever going to add up because there's too many different variables with too many different teams.
You're telling me going to A&M, going to Tennessee, going to LSU, going all these places is different than going to the Big House, going to the Shoe, going to a whiteout at Penn State. Like you go and even now going to Kinnick, going to Memorial Stadium for a night game, going to
Oregon,
Minnesota
going to
for a night game, going to Eugene, going to USC. It's no different now. The playing field and the strength of schedule is more even now than it's ever been.
It's just watered down more in the SEC this year than it ever has been.
And that's why
they're trying to make it like it has been in the past.
And Kirby Smart, keep running your mouth because you're still bitching and whining about your schedule. Dude, you guys had 2 losses. You didn't have a bad year. You won the SEC
Texas twice.
You won the SEC, and you still want to cry about your schedule. He's fighting for the rest of the SEC because he still thinks that they deserve better, they deserve more. That's his problem.
Well, because he doesn't want to be in a scenario a couple of years from now where they don't have as good of a season. He wants to still make it in.
He called out their commissioner after the winning last night because of their schedule, because of Georgia's schedule. He called him out on live TV with the commissioner in attendance.
About what?
And then the cameraman about their schedule. Said I can't.
They only play 8 games. They don't play 9 conference games.
Yeah, but Kirby's been him and Lane Kiffin have cried more than anybody else. You know you don't hear crying? Kalen DeBauer.
Yeah.
Because you know why? He's like, we shouldn't have lost those 2 games.
Nope.
We had destiny in our hands and we screwed it up just like every other team. And I'll give Saban credit. He said the same thing. He goes, everybody had their own destiny in their own hands, and some teams grabbed it by the horns and won, not in those words, but other teams didn't. He goes, you can't lose to an Oklahoma who's not good. You can't lose to a Vandy on the road when they're not. So, again, there's like admission, but at the same time, it's hard schedule. So it's like they don't know how to battle that because they still think it's the hardest, but losing doesn't matter, but it does at the same time. So it's like you're all over the place.
Yeah.
Even Joey Gallo. And man,
he was going off.
yeah, and man, he went off about. I think Booger McFarland talked about like
Booger's really bad.
He talked
He's
about
really
watching.
bad. They should not even be on there.
He talked about watching the games, and Joey Gallo goes, man, he goes, I hate when we do this. He's like, we can't sit here and say that they don't watch the games. He's like, that's their job. Yeah, I saw the same thing in Carolina. We're playing Boston College in the Pinstripe Bowl.
That's what I thought.
So he's like, we can't sit up here, and he's like, we do this every week. He goes, and it drives me nuts. We got to stop doing
Saturday
that.
game. All right.
We got to stop doing that because the committee is watching the games. We know they're watching the games. They have to watch the games. So we have to say what they're seeing on the field absolutely matters. And when it comes to strength of schedule, yes, that has some weight. But when you're losing to an Oklahoma and you only score 3 points, that's not a team you want to put in the playoff.
Nope.
Because do you want
No
to go?
other team in the playoff scored 3 points in a game
Yes. So
that
you
I
just
can think of.
so you just can't. You can't do that. The committee got it right. Now, there's a lot. Then there's argument, and what they want to change now in the first year, already want to change something, is the 4 buys, the conference champion buys.
That was the
And
immediate reaction.
Because they don't like ASU, they don't like Boise in it. That's the
They
reason
don't-
why.
Yep.
They don't think they deserve a bye. I'm sorry. They took care of business. Arizona State, phenomenal this year.
Boise State lost 1 game by 3 points to the #1 team in the country.
And they have the Heisman Trophy winner on their team.
Even if he doesn't win.
Jot that down. He is 100%. Thanks, Darren. No big deal.
He's going to be
Boston
the
College.
Ndamukong Suh this year.
He,
the Heisman Trophy.
man. And what's funny,
Unfortunately.
he is definitely, again, if you look at what a guy does for their team, he's a guy that not only took his team to 11-1 with only 1 loss to the only unranked or the only undefeated, and the #1 team in the country by 3 points, and he had almost 200 yards and 3 TDs in that game.
Yep.
And he had averaged almost over 200 yards every single game this year. He's now the 4th leading rusher in the ever in college football.
Right.
As
With
far
a
as
chance-
in-season yards.
Well,
With a chance to do more.
Yeah.
Regular
and if
season.
Yeah, I suppose.
Regular season, 4th all time. And you're telling
there's more
me
games now.
you're telling me he's not worthy of the Heisman because some guy plays 2 positions and takes a lot of snaps?
Right.
I don't agree.
And it's not just because it's Colorado. Yes, I might be a little biased. I actually like Hunter, and he had a lot of good things to say about Nebraska after they played here this year.
he says
How loud
he
was.
said it was the loudest and best
Yeah.
place he played.
Yeah,
He loved it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, he's not somebody that's going out and partying. I'm pretty sure he goes and plays video games and
That's all he
watches
does.
film and
Goes
shit.
on Twitch.
Yeah, so I don't dislike the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and he plays both sides. Just because that doesn't matter.
He's a
It's
good
just because
athlete.
of the Deion effect. If Deion wasn't the coach there, is he up for the Heisman?
I don't know.
I mean, he's really good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
He's a great athlete, 100%. But he's not going to do it in the pros. He can't. There's no way.
Yeah.
Now with the hits, in fact, I think he's probably better off to play defensive back. I think I maybe said different last week, but now I think about it, his size, and I don't think he's not a Devontae Smith level wide receiver as far as talent in college. And so I don't know if wide receiver is going to be a place where he'll be successful. I'd rather see him as a defensive back. As much as I don't like Colorado, you can't deny he's a skillful guy. But if he focuses on one position, imagine how good he'd be. With his talent level, his work ethic, how hard that guy works, and how talented he is, you could put him on a defensive
Right.
guy, and he's going to be really good. I have no
For sure.
doubt. I think he reads offenses really well. But again, if you're not throwing up numbers that say you're the best in the country, you might be the best athlete, but are you the best player? I would debate that with anybody.
For sure. So let's get to these matchups because I really do want to kind of break down
Yeah.
some of these different scenarios, having to go on the road and stuff like that. And like I said, I know that was kind of immediate transition after they announced, who was in and what the matchups were was, well, we need to fix it going forward because these teams, like you said, shouldn't be getting buys or whatever the case is. That was the format. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew that that's how it was
Yeah,
going to be.
and now all of a sudden it's not the right thing to do. So
Exactly.
whether there's changes next year or not, I don't know. And Casey says if Big Ten doesn't win, he's rooting for Boise. I would also root for Arizona State, to be honest.
Same.
Arizona State's been a fun team, and that coach, man, he is. Whoo,
Yeah, he's all fired
he's
up.
a little Pistol Pete. He's crazy out there,
He
but
is.
I love watching it. He loves his team. He loves his guys.
No, I think it makes for I mean, these are definitely interesting matchups. There's a couple that I was kind of hoping would go different direction, but you can't really be upset about any of them.
No.
I mean,
Clemson goes to Texas.
Clemson, Texas is. I mean, I know it's a 12-5, and Texas probably blow them out, but
I don't know, man. Like
Clemson just won the conference championship. Texas lost. You got Dabo. You know, you got Sarkisian. It's a good matchup.
And really, Texas didn't look that good. I didn't think Texas played very well yesterday.
They just couldn't.
They had opportunities.
They missed field goals.
Yep, they had opportunities. They couldn't capitalize.
Yep.
So Clemson has an opportunity. You never know. Tennessee, Ohio State. Tennessee coming to Ohio at the Shoe.
Very excited for this one. This is maybe my favorite matchup.
And it's a night game. It's going to be cold. There
So I
might
said
be
I think
snow.
this is my favorite matchup.
That is going to be a huge, huge game.
Not only that, but like TJ was talking about, and others, Joel Klatt especially.
Yep.
Oregon did, Oregon kind of being number one seed's great, but having to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee,
Yeah.
that's a pretty tough draw.
Yeah, 100%. Then we got SMU traveling to Penn State. Again, you're going to have another – this is an 11 a.m. game. I really wish it was going to be a whiteout game. Like, I think that would have been better than having Ohio State, Tennessee at night. Seeing a whiteout in the playoff at night in Penn State, I think that would have been pretty cool. But it's 11 a.m. They might still have a whiteout, but it's going to be against SMU. So see how SMU does traveling up north, playing in the cold weather.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that obviously Tennessee's having to go to Ohio State. But I was kind of I really thought Bama was going to be put in that spot, and I was like, Bama's going to have to go to Penn State.
Man.
Yep. But it's better that they're not even in.
Agree. And then we got Notre Dame and Indiana at Notre Dame. So in-state game. They say it's a rivalry. Like, it's not really a rivalry in football, but it's
the last time they played was.
But it's an in-state game, and
no, I think that was a wise matchup. I mean,
it was 10-7. That's what it was going to be.
Notre Dame had one bad loss, probably the worst loss out of anybody in the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Who did Ohio State to? They lost to Georgia Tech, didn't they? No.
Ohio State lost to Michigan.
No. Sorry, Tennessee. Who'd they lose to?
They lost to Arkansas.
Arkansas, which is a pretty bad loss. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple.
But that's not
losses.
Northern Illinois.
But also, Indiana only lost to Ohio State. But they didn't have that tough of a schedule. So I think that's a very interesting.
But
matchup.
neither did Notre Dame.
Right. Notre Dame did beat Army, who won their conference championship, and that was their only loss. You can go down the line, but I'm just intrigued with that matchup, just to kind of see, how good Indiana actually is. I know their coach was thinking that they should have gotten home field. Unfortunately, they made it in. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and I think, again, how everything falls with having those top four teams being your conference champs, that changes all the seedings. Georgia beating Texas changed things. If Texas beat Georgia still would have been in with 3 losses.
Probably.
But they would not. They wouldn't be seeded.
They would have been 11,
Yep.
and they would be going
They'd be going to Penn State. It would have changed. Well, and maybe, because that could have changed all the
Well,
rankings.
that's true.
Notre Dame could have been 6. Maybe they'd have to go to Notre Dame. So things very well could have changed with how the games ended up yesterday.
That's true.
So anything could happen. But, that's not what it is. Notre Dame's got Indiana at home. I'm psyched for all these games. I'm off for 2 weeks, so I'm going to be watching all these games. Heck yeah, I'm off for 2 weeks at the end of the year. So I'll be watching all these games. And then, so the winner of Clemson, Texas plays Arizona State.
Which is
fantastic. Then you got Tennessee, Ohio State plays Oregon. SMU, Penn State plays Boise. And then Penn State, Boise, I think will be a great matchup.
Right, and I mean, if SMU does win that game, you're talking SMU versus Boise for a shot in the semis?
Hell yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
Like this, and that is why people are so mad about, like, the teams that made it in. This is fantastic. This is like potential upset city like you have in NCAA March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
That is why.
Yeah, that's why this is more fun than just the 4 teams, the 4 same teams that always make it.
I mean, and to me, this is why, just in general, college football is so much fun, because any upset can happen on any day, any week. But as we talked with TJ,
This year more than ever.
as we talked with TJ, it is one of the only sports in any division, in any pro college, that losing a game matters.
It's like
You have to win.
drastically changes your season.
And now we know that absolutely you're not going to get, more than likely not going to get a 3-loss team in unless there are some extending circumstances throughout
Or
the
they
year.
win their conference championship.
Yeah, or they lost to one team and then they lost again in the conference championship and the same team, and then one other, maybe a ranked team that beat them. That's the only time you're going to have it happen. But more than likely, I think you're going to have more 2-loss teams in the playoff, a couple 1-loss teams, and undefeated is going to be. This might be the only year we see an undefeated team.
That's probably true, and I'm really happy that they didn't put Alabama in. That would just set the wrong precedent.
Yep.
I said last night, I said if Alabama makes it in, there's not a season that they won't make it in.
Yeah.
Unless they go 7-5.
They'll
or
always be
something.
in. Yep.
But they're always just going to be there because of that, because of that. And that's something kind of like the Indiana coach said when he was like saying that they deserved to host a game, be a higher seed, was the only reason that we're not going to is because our name says Indiana. If our name said Michigan, we'd be hosting. And he's not really wrong.
Yeah, but again, it's how the rankings happen. Losing to Ohio State,
The way they did.
and really even that, they dropped a lot after losing, and again, some teams didn't drop as much after losing to teams that were unranked.
Well, and
they should have
they were
dropped more.
fortunate enough that everybody kind of beat each other up this year.
Yeah.
And, in other seasons, it's the first season with a 12-team playoff, but in other years, even when it was a 4-team playoff, let's say that season was 12,
Yeah.
They could have gotten left out
Uh-huh.
because there were so many teams with one loss or, won their conference championship or lost their conference
Yep.
championship, and then you had two teams from the same conference with the same record.
Absolutely.
And maybe they beat each other,
Yep.
and that was their only losses. So, I mean,
Yep. Winner in Notre Dame, Indiana plays Georgia
yeah.
in the Sugar Bowl. So, Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, Boise in the Fiesta, Oregon in the Rose, and Arizona State in the Peach. So, and then from there, we kind of see what happens and where these games are going to fall, where the semis go, and then where we get to a championship. I'm excited because, again, this is parity. This is where we find out what teams like Boise, Indiana, SMU, what they're made of.
Yeah.
Arizona State, what are you made of?
If some of these games are blowouts, there's going to be people that are going to get on social and say, this is what Alabama should have been in.
But they
or,
could have
"This
got
is what
blown out too.
Miami should have been in. Maybe not Miami because Miami kind of snuck through the season anyway.
Yeah, I honestly would be really shocked, if there are any blowouts.
Yeah.
I see these matchups as good matchups and teams that are going to battle each other really well. I'm a little surprised that Ohio State's favored by 7.5. Let's talk about that. Who's favored? So Texas is favored by 11.
Not surprising.
Ohio State favored by 7.5. Penn State favored by 8.5. So they're all, again, one score or a little outside of that. Notre Dame favored by 8. So we're looking at a lot of, I think everyone's looking at that and saying these games are going to be good. We're going to see good football. We're not going to have blowouts. I would agree. I think some of it's going to change, obviously, between now and the 20th, but I think it's going to be so interesting to see how these games shake out. I'm excited talking about it. I wish we were there, obviously. I wish we were there, but
maybe in the coming years. But I'm always excited for. I'm not even a basketball fan, but I always get excited for the basketball tournament. I always get excited for the baseball and the hockey. In football, it's always just it's my thing I'm most excited for every year. But then it just comes down to the same 6 teams that make it into the Final Four.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So, I'm excited to see it.
And then, speaking of basketball, Creighton takes down, and Nebraska beats Creighton, and then all of a sudden, Creighton beats Kansas at home.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
That was the second year in a row they beat the number 1 team. They beat,
they beat
UConn last year. So,
right. No, and then unfortunately Nebraska got beat by 30-something at Michigan State.
God, they got destroyed by 37 points to Michigan State.
That's pretty wild.
That's Nebraska basketball, right? It kind of is what it is. But
it's still fun to be able to say we beat Creighton again. It's always fun.
But yeah, and so this football season has been wild. It's been crazy. Outside of Husker football, we know what happened there, but we've seen a lot of.
It was still fun though.
Yeah.
We started the season looking really promising. We got ranked, lost in overtime, and then beat Colorado the way we did. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it was still a fun season, obviously. I was thinking about it before I left to come over here. I was like, we should have beat Iowa. Probably should have beat USC.
Should have beat
Probably
UCLA.
should have beat, well, not even that. I mean, yeah, but probably should have beat Illinois. I mean,
Had our chance to beat
really,
Ohio State.
Really should have been anywhere from 8 to 10 wins this year.
Yeah.
And then, maybe we are in the conversation from this morning. But
Well, and then you look at, it's a good point because you look at what we could have done offensively. If we didn't have Satterfield, we had someone else calling plays that would have been more effective on with Dylan and the offensive side of the ball. That
if Shannon
changes.
starts running
Yeah.
back the whole season.
And Dowdell is a 1-2 punch. I mean, we have a very different season on our hands, and again, you can't. Now it's over. It is what it is, and I'm excited to see what happens next
But
year.
at least we took a step in the right direction.
100%.
From
One
last
step.
several years past. It
Baby
was a
steps.
small step, yes, but it is a step in the right direction.
Baby steps. So, but yeah, I'm excited. So we got a couple weeks now until we see, just about 2 weeks until we see the start of the playoff. We'll have Nebraska playing against Boston College on December 26th. My birthday
No,
in New
it's
York.
on the 28th.
Oh, it's 28th. So it's 2 days after my birthday.
It's on Saturday.
That's in New York?
That's why I said yes. Yankee Stadium.
Saturday. Fantastic. So
That's why I said I'm not upset about that because it'll be on a Saturday.
my birthday
It's not going to be a
weekend.
Wednesday at 2:30 and I can't get out of work.
It's just my birthday weekend, so
There you go.
I'll celebrate. Hopefully we win. So we'll see. See what happens.
Yeah, I know Boston College. They knocked out Florida State early in the season, which was great.
And then everyone else did too.
Bill O'Brien is their coach, and he's a great coach. So, interesting matchup, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a decent game. I have to look over their schedule and see, who they got blown out at all, or if they beat any decent teams. So yeah,
Cool. All right. I don't got anything else, man. I'm excited. I appreciate it. Yes, baby step. What about Bob, Casey? I know you know that movie. Anyways, go Big Red as always. Appreciate again Backswing letting us come here. Alexis, the bartender, is fantastic. Come and see her. Jimmy, Brian, cheers to you guys. Cheers to a good year of shows, year number 10. We'll be back again. I don't know if it'll be next week. It might be the following weekend after the playoff games or during. Maybe we'll do one during the game. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll figure that out. We'll have some more news for you coming up, but we'll see. If we have a show next week, we'll let everyone know. So,
Oh yeah, and Scott Frost is back.
and Scott Frost going to UCF. We didn't talk about that, but
Wild.
back to UCF. So good luck to Scott Frost. I hope he finds success. I
Honestly,
hope he got the help
I
he needed.
said
and-
when he was here, I said it might have been better if he was coaching us when we were in the Big 12. And UCF's in the Big 12.
There you go.
Play a lot of offense, not very much defense. So
just beat Colorado. That's all I ask. Sorry, real quick, Casey. Who do you think the next DC will be? I don't know. I have nowhere to even start there. To be honest, I have no idea.
Jim Leonard.
You
maybe?
better bring in. Someone said Ryan Walters. I'm like, that dude hates Nebraska.
I know.
Absolutely
so
hates Nebraska. He's not coming here. I don't care what kind of money we throw at him. If he comes here, everyone's going to call him a hypocrite and just for the money because he always said he hates Nebraska. He hates the N on our helmet, hates the red. He hates us.
Doesn't make any sense. But
He's not coming here. So Leonard might not be a bad guy either. I'd see it. Maybe a young coordinator wouldn't be a bad idea, but we'll see. I think Leonard might not be a bad choice. We know what he can do on the defensive side of the ball and what we've seen in Wisconsin over the years. So
want, somebody good. Just
someone who
somebody
players want to play for.
Yep, that just plays solid D.
Yep. So, good question. All right.
All right.
Again, Matt,
Jimmy.
two average guys. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Go Cowboys. I don't even know who we play today. If we play today or play Monday night, I have no idea.
They play tomorrow.
Okay, Monday night. See, I don't. Yeah, it is what it is. So, go Big Red. Y'all have a good night.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Come on, good game, everybody. Yeah. I think it's safe to say that all these fans came out here to watch a game of football.
John, we're in commercial.
Yeah, I know. I'm just